everyone, this is Jabron Nassif, host of the Keyed Up podcast. We have Bonnie Gayle Sparks in the house with us. She appears in Love and Death on HBO. And thank you so much for joining. This is a cool thing. I didn't tell you before, but you're the first actress on this podcast. We've had actors, but the first actress. So we're going to celebrate that
Cool.
today on
Yeah.
this podcast. So thanks so much for joining. And just I wanted to
Yeah. Thanks
ask,
for
like,
having me.
yeah, absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm thriving.
That's
Thanks for
good.
asking. No, I'm doing great. It's a good day. I'm actually having a couple homies over to view the show today because my husband's also in the show.
Oh,
So the first
cool.
three episodes are released on HBO Max, and I'm in episodes one and two, and he's in episodes two and three. So to have our like close friends come over and celebrate together. So I'm just like working on that and food prep and cleaning my house and stuff like that. So
That's a cool, yeah, that's actually a really cool thing to do. I mean, it's almost like the same because I've worked in music and they do the same thing with artists, like a record release party. So it's almost like
mhm.
that kind of vibe. So
Yeah. I
that
mean,
must be
yeah,
really
you
cool.
like your friends see how hard you work and your friends have been there since the beginning and your family. So, it's a long time coming. So it's fun to celebrate. And also like, people who, maybe new friends that you know outside of acting and
Hmm.
they don't really get it or they don't really like know anything about what you do and then they see you on TV and they're like, "Oh, you're an actress." I'm like, "Yeah, like I told you that. Did you think I was joking?" So like that's a fun thing to experience with people.
Yeah, that really is, and it must be cool getting that recognition. And it's a cool show. I watched um, all three episodes already, and I'm sure people are going to listen to this later when the whole limited series is released. So
Mhm.
you played Joanne Garlington, right? That's the character
Mhm.
name, and it's a very unique show. People tuning in. It's two church going couples enjoy this small family life in Texas until somebody picks up an axe.
Mhm.
So it's very it's like an affair situation and turns into a murder situation. So it's a very first off, the Texas accents are on point because I'm originally from Houston. I'm in New Orleans now, but I feel
Mhm.
like the just the acting overall was just it's just really good. It's incredible. So yeah, great work on that. It's
Thank
exciting
you.
to see that.
Thank
Let's
you.
yeah, absolutely. Let's step it back for a little bit and you know give me that elevator pitch. Like what got you into acting? How did it all happen? Looks like I
Oh
was doing
gosh.
some research. Like you came from, humble beginnings, which is really cool to see in acting now. People coming from the ground up and getting these big kind of
Mhm.
roles. So tell me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, they say the days of like getting discovered at the mall are over. It takes like
Yeah.
I think the average amount of or at least I've heard like the average amount of time that it takes for like an actor to be kind of off the ground is like 7 years. I booked Love and Death at 8 years. Because I didn't start acting till I was 21. So I got kind of a late start, like so many people start as children.
Mhm.
Um, I always knew that I wanted to be an actor, but I never really had the guts to like do anything about it until young adulthood. And I'm not in college and I'm just working. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to work at a fast food restaurant forever. I guess it's time to finally start training. So I started training in Houston and then I moved to Dallas a few years later and continued to train here. And I've been here ever since. And I met my husband in acting class and
Cool.
just like built a lot of relationships and did a lot of short films. I did a lot of free stuff for the first couple years. Every single day I was like online searching for like little tiny short films or like low to no paying indie films to do. And then you kind of build up a resume and a reel and then slowly start to get bigger and bigger stuff. So yeah, it's been a slow process, but I'm glad that it's happened the way that it has because I definitely wasn't ready before. Um, I wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And I was like a young dumb kid. So to like grow up and become like a whole person and a whole actor has been a long journey, but I'm proud of the journey. So
Yeah, that's interesting. From fast food to acting. That's a cool like slogan,
there's
I guess.
actually a lot of like, well, I say a lot. I mean, I guess if you're in LA, like literally every waiter, every fast food worker or Uber driver is an actor. But yeah, I'm because we have to have like flexible day jobs, right?
Yeah.
To like be able to attend auditions. So yeah, I worked in fast food and I worked as a nanny and I just anything flexible that I could get my hands on. I worked at a bar like from 7 p.m. till 3 a.m. And then the next morning at 10 a.m., I would get up and do door to door sales from like 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., have a little break, go back and do the same thing over and over again. And
Yeah.
then that gives like a window to, attend your auditions and then get people to cover your shift and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of people don't know, but like when I first moved, there's a lot of filming in New Orleans. When I first moved here 2 years ago, there I started getting um, doing background acting and things like that. So you kind of I saw really behind the scenes and met some actors and things like that.
Mhm.
But including Kevin James, like super random. Um,
Yeah.
but it's really a lot of people don't know like behind the scene. It's a lot of work. Like it just like comparing it to a musician. Like yes, you learn new music and you play new music, but then when you're on tour, you're playing the same thing. And on the
Hmm.
acting side, you're doing something different every day. There's
Hmm.
scripts. There's like it's a lot of work, like but behind the scenes.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's really cool to see you build that up. So when it comes to like behind the scenes, like what kind of it's this cast on Love and Death is very unique. You have um, you know there's Nicole Kidman behind the scenes, right? Working with all
Hmm.
these big actors. How does that um, what's your experience like behind the scenes working on this set?
Yeah, no, it was so cool because I really got to spend so much time with them, especially compared to how much I'm actually like on screen
Mm-hmm.
because my character she's a member of the church choir and our main character spends so much time at church and in the church choir and so my character is always just kind of there. So I worked more days like than you'll actually really notice me on screen, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So we spent a lot of time together. I mean, our trailers were next to each other and we were all in holding together. Like, so in between setups, we're hanging out all basically in a big circle, talking for like 30 minutes in between every camera setup, which there's a lot of camera setups. So yeah, I got to like get to know them and watch them work. And I'm just in awe. And then to get to see them work like from an outsider perspective, actually watching the show now is so cool too, because when you're in the scene with them, you can't really watch them
Mm-hmm.
because because then you're no longer in the scene, right? Your character isn't like sitting there watching them, so you can't. So now as a viewer, I'm able to like actually like see and appreciate like all that they're doing and learning that way. So everybody was super nice, so friendly. um yeah, I really enjoyed working with them. They were super cool.
Yeah, it's cool you said um, there's just a lot behind it. I mean, even a 20-second scene, let's say a bar scene in a show, could be like 10 hours of filming. And not many people know that. There's a lot of like
Mhm.
camera angles, retakes. And I was
Yeah.
seeing that when I was doing the background acting stuff. I was like, oh my God, this is like, and of course, you're sitting around a lot of the time until they need you for this scene, but it's incredible
Hmm.
seeing people work. So it must be cool to like kind of use it as like a study guide. Like, okay, let me
Yeah.
touch up on this part and things like that. So, um,
Yeah, it takes a long time. So yeah, this show's 7 episodes. So they shot for 7 months. I was on and off for 7 months because I'm
okay,
a recurring character. So I'd be there for a week or two or three and go home and then maybe have like a month or two off and come back. But like Lizzie, like Elizabeth Olsen shot like every day, 5 days a week, like 12 to I don't know, 16, 18 hours a day for 7 months. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
yeah, it is, and it must have been cool, kind of working with her as well. So, to
Mhm.
kind of give me more of a feel of your character, when I guess when you get chosen for the role, you get the script and things like that. Were there any kind of things you kind of applied to your character in the show?
Yeah, well, there wasn't a whole bunch written about my character and how she felt about the other characters in the script, because she's very much like on the peripheral
Yeah.
of everything going on. So I kind of just took my best guess at her when I did the audition, and it happened to be like exactly what they were looking for. So I just ran with that, and then our show is based on the book Evidence of Love and the
Mm-hmm.
Texas Monthly articles. So I was able to do some research, and I bought the book and I read the whole thing front to back. And from there, I was able to give my character, really flesh her out more just for my own purpose, just to know like who the hell I was and how I felt about like Lizzie's character or Lily's character or Kier's character, you know.
Yeah.
It's really in depth in the book. In fact, there were like several more scenes in the book that I like wish could have happened in the show. Like we joke because we're like, I kind of wish this wasn't a fictional story so we could all come back and do a season two, because I think everybody would be down, and to it would be so fun to like take my character and actually have, you know, an arc that goes on for a few seasons. But it's a limited series because this is a true story. So she is, yeah, she's a member of the church choir, and she is married to Richard Garlington, played by AJ Rome. They have kind of a picture perfect marriage, or so they like to flaunt. And she, behind the scenes, encourages all the members of her church to attend this marriage camp called Marriage Encounter, which
Mm-hmm.
really comes into play in episodes, I think, three and on. So
Yeah, it's really cool, and like you said, I think adapting into a book, there's so many things you have to like kind of squeeze into the show. Well, you never know. Maybe there'll be like a spin-off with you or something. And I've seen it's a big trend too. You see a lot of, I don't know if you've seen Your Honor on Showtime, but that was like a
oh,
limited
I haven't seen it. I
series.
don't have Showtime, but I've heard it's incredible. And oh
Yeah,
my
it
gosh, I'm
is.
obsessed with Bryan Cranston. He's fantastic.
Oh gosh, he killed that show. And that was a limited series, and apparently it was like it was like the best premiere on Showtime. They're like, okay, let's make this a limited or second season out of it. It was good. So you never know. Maybe you'll continue it, even though it's a
Yeah,
true
I
story.
guess.
But
Yeah, I guess Lizzie's story kind of ends with
yeah,
the last episode of our show, but maybe they could continue on with like what happened with the rest of the church and Wiley, and have like church drama happening. I don't know, within church politics. You know how that goes.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's say if someone joins this podcast, never heard of the show, maybe they saw a trailer. What can you tell them like to expect on this show? Why are you really excited about it?
I mean, expect to feel all the feelings, like expect to be shocked and expect to laugh even a little bit. I mean, expect brutality with the nature of the murder and how it the show sort of progresses from um the tone is so interesting because it really progresses from almost laughable in some moments, because it's absolutely ridiculous how these two people started this affair, and then of course the tone grows into a darker place, as we're dealing with the murder and the consequences of the murder. So I mean, if you love true crime, you'll love it. If you love drama, you love it. If you love dramedies, if you love Elizabeth Olsen, if you love HBO Max shows, I love
Yeah.
HBO Max shows like
Oh yeah.
Succession, Last of
Oh
Us,
yeah.
and
It's
Game of
all good.
Thrones. So if you're a fan of any of that, I think you'll enjoy it.
That's a great kind of introduction to it for people tuning in and things like that. So, great work. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, everyone. This is Bonnie Gayle Sparks. Go check out HBO Love and Death. Tell us what you think. And yeah, it was great having you on the show.
Cool. Thank you for having me. Bye,
All
guys.
right. See you then.